Hi, Sam Hitesh from Happy Offer. With my host today, Vivian Neal. We're just going to talk to you guys about why it's easy to sell to existing customers. Vivian, do you just want to give us a brief overview about what you do?
Yes, certainly will. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Blab. I'm sure lots of you have seen it before, but for those who haven't, it's a really exciting platform to really get involved with people and eyeball to eyeball. My name is Vivian Neal, and I work as a digital strategist and digital transformationist, which basically means that I get bricks and mortar businesses to think about what digital actually means to them and think in a different way. Digital for me is not just a prefix. It's like saying motor car or water tap or electric light. These were things that were prefixes when something was brand new, but digital is so much part of our DNA now. We need to find a new term, I think, all round. So that's what I'm looking for at the moment. So I'm heavily involved in marketing, in copywriting, content writing, strategy, you name it. I'm there. What about you, Hitesh? Tell us all about it.
So I'm a bit more of a technology entrepreneur. So software project manager is my background, but I like to dabble in digital marketing as well. So I think for me, it's providing innovative solutions that's going to make a difference to business owners. So we'll see what we can do. So yes, I suppose today I just wanted to talk about why it's easier to sell to existing customers as opposed to getting new ones. Now, we know the facts are always there. We know it's cheaper, which in theory it should be because you've already made contact. You've already got you've initiated a relationship, if you like. I just wanted to touch upon the other areas, and I think when it's better to sell to existing customers than to compare to new ones, and perhaps try and use some examples on the way. So as Vivian, have you, in your line of work, been a digital strategist? I know your background's content writing.
Mm-hmm.
Have you found it easier to sell to existing customers?
Well, actually, I was thinking more of some good examples. Some years back, and it is going back a little bit now, banks suddenly realized that they could poach other people's customers. And I don't know if you remember, there was a time when they were saying, join us, we'll transfer all your accounts and give you £100 to come to us. And so people were leaving. Now, if you had been with a bank for a long time, and many of us do tend to develop very long relationships with people, we were saying, well, why haven't we got special offers on our credit cards or £100 cash back or whatever that you're offering all these new people? And said, oh, well, you're not a new customer. So many of us thought, well, to hell with it. I'll go and be a new customer somewhere else then. And suddenly the banks realized that actually the people that had passively been with them were the best way to market. And that, you know, you spend an awful lot of money, as you say, marketing to new people. And if you're not actually looking after the people who have become your loyal customers, that's bad grace. And also it's bad economics as well.
Do you think that's probably purely down to the amount of products you've got? If you've only got one product, for example, you can't sell that product again to an existing customer.
But then surely you find ways, because whatever product you're selling, I mean, just for example, let's take London black cabs. Now, they've been with us since the beginning of time. They're called hackney carriages because that's what they were. And suddenly Uber comes along and says, well, do you know what? I want a cab when I want it. I don't want to stand on the street and hail it. Or, you know, black cabbies thinking that because they've done the knowledge, they know everything. And so, you know, you're very lucky that they're driving you around. So suddenly, from out of the blue, technology completely disrupted the cab business model right across the world, you know. And so what do you do to ensure that somebody still uses black cabs and doesn't automatically switch to Uber? So that's just an example.
It's a good example. I think it comes down to the products and services that you need and want to receive. I think it's, if you're happy with a particular service that you get on a regular basis, you'll keep people coming back, which is why sometimes, let's say for example, I go to the barbers on a regular basis once every month, maybe once 3 weeks, 4 weeks, get my hair cut. Now, let's say, because I'm a loyal customer, they offer me, well, do you fancy a shave today? It only costs you, say, an extra £5 or whatever it is. Because I've got that relationship with them, and the timing's right, it's easier to sell because you're not cold calling, you're not having to force something on them. The relationship's already there. So I think it's using opportunities as best you can to cross-sell, and also just trying to get the most out of your basket spend. I think the other point I want to make on that is when people sell to a customer, do you consider the lifetime value of a customer? Or is it just one off?
That's what I was thinking about when you were talking.
So sometimes people, you look at your cost per acquisition, for example, and you think, well, I need to get this down. But then if you're only measuring that against the initial sale, so let's say, for example, you've got a subscription-based product. So Happy offers a subscription-based product, and it costs, say, £20 a month, £240 a year, but the lifetime value of that could be, say, 3 years. So you're looking at nearly, £800 or so. So therefore, your cost per acquisition, for example, could be a lot higher because you know that you'll keep them for longer. So I think in terms of why it's easier to sell, I suppose it goes down to not just why it's easier to sell to existing customers, it's also cheaper because you're getting more from them.
But I think it's something else as well. I mean, what worries me is, when you sort of pump existing customers, where you've had that, now you might want this, and then this, and then that. And people say, hold on a minute. In fact, interestingly, charities have just got into big, big trouble for often milking quite vulnerable people. And so somebody who chooses to give to a charity is then considered a soft touch. And then there's been some quite aggressive selling techniques going on where old people, I think one woman actually committed suicide because she was under so much pressure to keep when she'd already decided to give. So for me, selling to existing customers is one thing, but I think it's creating a really meaningful relationship where you get to know people, but not in a cynical way, but also to kind of predict what their needs might possibly be. And let's face it, if you are involved with a business that you rate, that you like very much, and if you actually become part of the structure, and somebody said to me, Vivian, you're our loyal customer, is there anything we're doing now that you think we could do better? Or do you have any suggestions of products that would really make a difference to you? Give you an example. LA Fitness, the gym company, were bought out by Pure Gym, I believe. And it's really interesting that the cost of a gym membership now, because I checked it yesterday, was just over £16 a month. And there's no tie-in. You don't have to give a month's notice. You don't have a minimum of 6 months. And it's open 24 hours a day. Now, if I can't find an hour in 24 to go and do something, so, some of the pain points that stopped somebody like me actually joining the gym have been eliminated because they've actually listened to what customers are saying. So sometimes it's about actually realigning your offerings, your products, your brand, your service to make it more attractive, even more attractive than it was in the first place.
I think that's it. And going back to your point on assuming you know what people want, you need to listen to them. Because the fact that they're already an existing customer, you kind of got their respect as well. Listen to them, understand what their pain points are, understand what's going on in their life at the moment, which you could probably solve. And that goes a long way as well, because it's all about building that relationship. And also you've got all of a sudden, you build up loyalty. People don't just value the product or service, they actually value you as an individual and the company you work for.
And then, of course, if you are valued as an individual, then people are happy to become an advocate. And that is the ultimate thing. And if we have a look at the way the buying, well, it's not a cycle, it's a kind of a, whatever you call it, like that, an S sort of shape. It starts with people coming to you from afar, or looking for something, and then that's the 0 moment of truth, and then the first moment of truth, second, where they eventually buy, and then it's what happens afterwards. Because actually, if you think about how much effort you put into making a sale, if that's all you get out of it, then it was a lot of work. Whereas actually, if you can develop a smart relationship that is beneficial, mutually beneficial, I mean, anybody who I sign up to and they have my email address, if they start bombarding me I just think, do you know what? I've had enough of this. So it's got to be delicately done.
I think it's down to expectation. If you know, for example, you're a barber. I use that example because I know for a fact that I'll need a haircut every 4 weeks. You can sometimes initiate that conversation at the end of your last visit. So can I book you in for your next appointment in 4 weeks' time? So all of a sudden you've got that repeat sale already lined up there and then. I think if people are primed up and they're already expecting it, then it's not so much of a surprise. You're not being sold to, but you're asking a genuine question. Do you want this next time? Can I put something for you? And all of a sudden, it's not even selling, it's becoming more convenient. I think it depends on the product or service. I think another example I think I've seen somewhere before where another hair salon actually sold all their appointments for a year in advance for half the price.
Mm.
So all of a sudden you're leveraging that customer, but also getting a bit of cash flow as well. So you're thinking out of the box. You think, well, I can book all my appointments 12 months in advance, have to put all the dates I want, and it's cheaper. And we're going to pay that money anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose in terms of how you'd sell to an existing customer, do you feel you'd have to give them an offer? Or do you think, or does it depend on the state of the relationship?
Well, if we're going to stick on hair, I've got a new hairdresser that actually comes to my home. And it was the first time she did my hair. And she said to me, do you mind if I blow dry it? She said, I won't charge you for that, but I'd just like to see what it looks like when I've done it. So I'm not going to say no, am I?
No.
And having blow dried it, she is particularly good at that. And she made a very good job of it. And so I'm inclined now to have a blow dry after she's done my hair. So that's a typical example. If it didn't cost her very much, if anything, if you sort of mean apart from a little bit of time, to give me added value, I rate her. I'm not going to look for another one. I'm very happy with the service, and it's likely that I will get an additional service from her because she showed me what she can do.
And I think that's a good example because although there's no associated cost by doing it apart from time, sometimes people worry about by giving something away for free, they're going to lose out. However, it's no different to spending a lot more money to acquire a new customer.
Well, give an example. I will travel to London to visit a new client. And obviously it takes my time when I'm the cost of the travel, the time taken with the client and then getting back again. And all that time, it's difficult for me to actually do the job that I'm doing. And so it's the cost of sale, isn't it? I actually work on a site where I have some special offers. And one day, unfortunately, I sold 3 of these and they're really cheap as chips. And I thought, oh my goodness, I really don't want to be working for this kind of sum. So anyway, I bashed out all the stuff I needed to do, sent it back immediately and thought, right, I need to do this fairly quickly to make it cost effective for me. But what was interesting is all 3 of those clients have come on board at the proper price. And so therefore they saw what I could do. I actually earned money from showing what I could do. And okay, it's less than normal, but I didn't have any spend getting on a train to London. I didn't have all the cost of travel and the time. I just literally put it there on a plate and said, look, this is what I can do. And they came to me and said, we love what you do. What's your hourly rate? That's great. Can we book it? So actually, as a loss leader, it was a very, very economical way of getting a new client.
And I think that comes down to being confident, being able to deliver a quality service. I mean, sometimes if price is a main deciding factor, it's probably the wrong customer to deal with.
Yeah.
But if you know, I mean, the last Blab we talked about it, if you know what to expect from a service you use quite a bit, you know the quality, you shouldn't go elsewhere. I suppose the question is why would you stick with someone you're used to, or compared to finding another supplier?
Well, I suppose if someone you're used to understands you, now that might be, oh, he knows how to cut my hair, or she knows that I've got a very painful foot and she's incredibly careful when she does work on it, or whatever it happens to be. When you feel that you establish a relationship, because let's face it, you know, if you start to chat, if you start to swap ideas, you know about people, oh, I'm getting married next month. Oh, right, that's amazing. And you start to get that emotional attachment, and you can get it online as well as, you know, face to face. And it's just got to be carefully done.
I think it's the digital equivalent of rewarding, saying thank you. It doesn't need to be face to face as such. What would cause you to not stay with your current supplier and go somewhere else?
I suppose it's about reliability. It's also when people make me feel that I don't matter. I don't have a big ego, but I just sometimes feel that, you know, people aren't bothered whether I show up or not. And when there is so much choice, there is no reason to stay. You know, I had some really bad customer service from a supermarket and bad customer service on social media, and I'm completely out of love with that supplier, and I'm not going back.
I think it depends on the individual, because I think some people love bargains, for example. They love a good deal, and depending on what you buy, if you're buying, say, groceries, for example, who you buy that from is kind of irrelevant, because you're buying the same stuff but just cheaper somewhere else. However, if you received a personalized service from that provider, you'd probably pick them over someone else, even if it was slightly more expensive on that particular product as well. So it's amazing how something can shift.
I'll tell you what's interesting, and I don't know whether this is a bit crazy, but a couple of weeks ago I was ill, and my son, bless him, organised a delivery from the supermarket of things somebody ill needed, including boxes of tissues, sore throat tablets, a DVD, you name it. And the guy knocked on the door, and I said, I haven't ordered anything. And he said, well, I've got an order for you. And when I looked what was in it, I thought, haha, I know who sent this. Now, actually, the guy said to me, well, I hope you feel better soon. Now, if they'd been really clever, the driver could have gone back or punched into a thing, you know, client ill, and they could have sent me something or a voucher for cough syrup for something or other, and said, you know, sorry that you were feeling poorly, you know, we've got plenty of things that might be able to help you, and here's 10% off your spend, or, you know, spend £5 on cough sweets and we'll give you a free packet. And, you know, that is the kind of thing that inspires loyalty and also word of mouth. Guess what? My supermarket, or look at these free things that I got. And it's just something that's a very positive about your business. And that's what we're looking for. We want advocacy. We want people to remember us. We want people to talk about us. We want to be part of the conversation, because if we're not, we're dead in the water.
I think that's it. I suppose it's down to customer retention and having more strategy around that. I suppose if I was to ask you, if you was to give me a percentage split between acquiring new customers and retaining existing ones, in your line of work, where do you see it going? Because I know in a service-based industry, especially like yourself, there's only so many hours in the day, and you can always increase your prices, I get that. But where do you stand in terms of trying to find new clients or trying to resell to existing ones?
Well, somebody once said to me that any client that you haven't contacted or hasn't made contact with you within 3 months is no longer a client, but just a name on a database.
So if they're just a name on a database, do you think that's because as the company owner, you haven't company asked to reach out to them, or are you expecting to come back to you? I think you've got to really, for me, it's like, for example, I've started emailing my database of customers twice a week. I'm not trying to sell anything, just provide some advice. Oh, I've seen this video today, check it out, this is what I think. And it's just to keep them warm and nurtured. And at the end of the day, it's you've got to give more, and in the long run, you'll get something back out of it rather than trying to sell all the time. And I think sometimes it's good gestures like, oh, just email to say how you're doing, or here's 10% off your next order if you buy in the next week. It's not forced, it's not pressured, but at the same time, you're recognizing that the customer's there, and the relationship doesn't stop at that first purchase.
And the other thing, of course, is that even if I don't need your advice, I might say to somebody who said to me, oh, do you know, I really need to know how to. I'd say, do you know what? Hang on a minute. I've got this email. This guy emails me twice a week, and you might find it useful. And I pass it along.
Well, it's funny because I've been emailing my current customers now for about 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the content of the emails isn't going to be, they're not very long, but since then I've had probably about 5 or 6 of those customers come back to me saying they need stuff doing. So at the end of the day, although you're emailing them stuff, you become top of mind when someone needs something.
Yeah.
So everyone knows that for these clients in another life, I used to build websites for them and do some digital marketing. So that now that when I email them, if they need something, I'm at top of mind. Although I'm not selling something, it's all about the conversation as well. I've had a few people reply back and say, yeah, this is pretty good, useful stuff. But I think it comes down to your long-term value of your customer, but also planning it out. So if from day one I bought something today, when are you planning to try and upsell something to someone later on? Or what information can you get from them to try and sell something else? In the digital space, especially information, sending out a survey can give you the information required to produce content to sell something again. So as we know, there's plenty of webinars online, and even Happy Offer started off as just a market survey, market research. They told us what the pain points are, and we try to build a solution to solve that. Now, as we go through the process, as we speak to our customers more, we find out what's bothering them today and how can we solve that. And all of a sudden, you're creating products which didn't exist probably 6 months ago, or solutions didn't exist 6 months ago, and you're reinventing the wheel all the time. So even for me as a software as a service business, I'm trying to think, well, how else could I add value? And it could even be through online training. And I think it depends on your space. I know, Vivian, with what you do, you could do webinars, you could do blocks of content, you could do online.
All sorts. I mean, actually looking at something like Blab, you get the chance to see the cut of somebody's jib. You see the whites of their eyes, and actually you miss out one stage in the funnel. I don't like using the idea of a customer funnel because I don't think it's right, but let's use it anyway, because you can think, well, I really like what he or she says. I like the look of them. I like the idea of what they're doing, and therefore I'm going to buy into it. So, this is about adding value, and I think that's what we have to do. And that's what, I mean, if you look at it like an agri-business, if I have a herd of cows and I just produce milk, I'll only get X pence for a pint of milk. But if I start making cheese or ice cream or other things, and then if maybe I start doing cream teas, offering my own clotted cream on there and so on and so forth, then we start making a lot more money. So, value added is really important.
And that's it. The beauty about this is that sometimes people, I know a lot of business owners, I used to be the same way, they want instant results quickly. They just want fast results now. There's no reason why you can't automate a lot of this. So with a lot of the emails I do, I try and schedule them or bulk write them. It's the same way you schedule tweets, in the sense that every new customer you have, you can set up an evergreen automated email marketing sequence to them. So that whatever you're selling, it is kind of timeless. It's more about how long they've been a customer with you, but then they go through their own personalized journey. So, for example, if you know that someone signed up to receive your ebook on how to write good content, you could then send them more content over the next few weeks, months, with a pivot to try and say, well, would you like a one-to-one consultancy? Now, because those things are timeless, they're evergreen. It doesn't matter, and this is why getting people into your funnel, you can sell products and services in your sleep, and that's what it's all about. But you're nurturing at the same time. But for me, it's all about providing value before you expect something in return. I think sometimes people are too eager to make the sale than build a relationship.
I agree. I mean, I offered to do some voluntary work because I'd read a lot about how good voluntary work is for the soul, for the economy, for everything. And I thought, you know what? For the sake of giving an hour of my time away, I could help a local church with some of their marketing, because they've got a big pitch to raise money for renovations. So I just sent a message and said, look, if I can help you with some social media management, just give me a shout. And on the back of that, they've given me paid work to develop a website. So, and I wasn't looking for anything. I didn't do it with any cynicism, with anything. I just thought, do you know what? I'm here, I'm in the local community, and I can help.
And I think I think it's right place, right time, but also at the same time, I think it's going to be, it's listening to your audience and the environment you're in.
And also, I think it also shows the kind of person you are. I mean, let's face it, not me, but anybody who's prepared to give something, who's prepared to make people feel nurtured, who's prepared to say, look, I really value you as a client, and therefore I'd like to give you this. I'd like to say thank you, or I'd like to introduce you to this, or whatever it happens to be. I think that's really important.
So in your line of business then, given that you're a digital strategist, I know you write content, if you need an extra boost in revenue this month, will you typically try and find new customers on sites like People Per Hour or whatever, those sort of sites, or will you contact your existing customers first? And see
I think this is a relatively new thing for me, because I was always about getting the next hit. But actually, I have an awful lot of repeat business. So obviously, I think people, I suppose in a way, I said this the last time we spoke, when the internet was first formed, we were all told that we could market to the world. This was our global opportunity. So we all broadcast like mad. Hello, world, here I am. Do you want what I've got? And of course, that doesn't work. And what's happened is we've got a tremendous amount of white noise there. So hold on a minute, that's not working. So if I was to provide content for everybody in the streets around me, I wouldn't have enough hours in the day. And so therefore, if I'm actually going to make sure that my offering is pitched specifically, granular, target audience, making people feel that I'm the right person for them, that's what it's all about. And I think if you can find someone in all of that noise that you can trust, who does a good job, who you can pay the price that you're happy to pay, and who is perhaps prepared to give you something extra, or give you some training, or give you something that makes you feel good, then I think, why wouldn't I stay? Why wouldn't I buy?
I think that's it. I think also at the same time, let's face it, you're still going to have to find new customers as well, because
yes,
I've seen it before where businesses could go bust, or for whatever reason, they're not in a position to buy from you again. Now, even if they've been buying from you for the last 12 months, I've seen it before. It's happened to me where you have maybe 3 or 4 of your big clients and they go bust. And it's the 80-20. They say 20% of the effort 80% of your results come from 20% of the effort you put in. I think it's it's that. And I think if you look after your existing customers, and it's going back to the point where you're delivering value and you're doing a good job, they'll tell people about you. And sometimes if the relationship is that good, you can simply ask, do you know anyone who might need this? Even if there's referral fee, and it doesn't need to be forced. So I think it's just trying to find the time right. It might be that you spend a few days a month trying to find new customers, but then the rest of it's focused on nurturing existing ones to get more. I think sometimes if you've got a product where you can sell in bulk, so you've got a 3-month leeway rather than trying to find sales rather every month. We've been there before. We met some People Per Hour, and I think all of a sudden you're applying for jobs left, right, and centre, and the only way to do that quickly is by doing generic proposals. Where
I've never ever done a generic proposal.
So I used to do that. It was like tweaking, just because I thought it was a numbers game. But when I stopped doing that, and when I started paying more attention, I actually thought, well, I had someone the other day that wanted some advice on the website, so I listened to them, gave them some free advice, wasn't pushy on the sale, and then said, well, if you need me, I'm here, rather than people that say too eager to, accept my proposal and I'll tell you what you want.
Well, I think what's also interesting is that all buyers, even before they're buyers, are actually articulating signals, and we have to learn to read those. And somebody wanted me to do a small amount of work for her this afternoon. It didn't take me very long at all, actually. And she said, oh, do you know, I've got so many things on the go at the moment. The idea of topping up buffer for Twitter is just 1/8. Could you do me some tweets? Now, she has just told me that she's got a lot on. So if I can actually craft my offer so it echoes some of her vocabulary and really shows empathy and understanding, I know, if you're not careful, that sounds cynical, but at the end of the day, what do we all want but solutions?
I think that's it. And I think just on that point where if you've reached a capacity where you can't do any more, with existing customers, if you were to increase your prices even by 10-15%, there's a good chance they'll still pay that. So all of a sudden, you're getting more from your existing customers because they're happy with the service, because they trust you. And you see it all the time. You see it with home insurance, phone bills, whatever it is. They'll naturally increase their prices every year because that's what everyone does. You don't bat an eyelid about it. It's the same with any line of work. If you look after your customers.
Yeah, I saw today someone was talking about the minimum wage, and that there's been a lot of discussion that the minimum wage will make prices go up. And somebody wrote, well, we haven't had a minimum wage for a hell of a long time and prices have still gone up. So explain that. And it just made me laugh. It's true. Prices always go up. But I think if you put your prices up and if you increase your offering as well, in some way or another, and sometimes it's the smallest things that people remember. It's the smallest gesture.
But this is it. And I think if people start flapping about a price increase, then you start to question, well, are they more bothered about price or the quality of what you deliver? Well, you've increased your prices with me 3 or 4 times in the last 2 or 3 years, but because I value your service, okay, there's always been some negotiation and stuff. I've been with you for a long time, can't you do us a deal? And I'm sure some deals, if you bought bulk, but I'm also aware that you need to earn money and time is money.
Yeah.
It's not working smarter.
But as we discussed, that sometimes if price is the only driver, you end up at zero, don't you? And therefore, I always think that price is a difficult one. So therefore, I think you've always got to add value one way or another. And looking at what Appy Offer does, that opportunity for companies or businesses who might be chiropodists, they might be hairdressers, opticians, dentists,
Orthopedists,
yeah, whatever. They're going to have particular downtimes, and let's face it. If, for example, I said, right, Hitesh, I can offer you every Tuesday afternoon at reduced rate because I know that's my quiet time, and if you book 4 treatments in, I'll give you whatever, something else, or a free voucher for another treatment, or free half an hour, or whatever it happens to be, then that's actually quite a tempting offer, isn't it?
It is, and I think also it's you acknowledge them for staying with you, and it's sometimes giving out an offer is also a reward because it's exclusive. So
I quite like the gamification of it all, where you actually get involved. And I belong to a training group, and it's easy to do a bit of training with somebody and then leave it for 12 months. What they've done is you can move up your badges. It's so pathetic, really. But you can get up your badges by doing 60 minutes of training a week. And that means that I've worked so hard to get to where I am. I don't want to lose it. And it's good for me that I go and do marketing training for 60 minutes every single week. So I constantly keep in contact with things. But they've got me. And as much as I don't want to admit to that, they've got me, I
think that's it. It's the incentive as well. A feature we're looking at is the concept of a digital stamp card. So if you go into a coffee shop, they'll stamp your card and you get a coffee. And if you buy 5, you'll get the next one free. But because you can see that people work harder to get that reward, but they don't think about, well, I've had to buy 5 coffees to get this next one free. People don't look at it like that, but it gives them a drive and incentive. And I think that's another great way to sell to existing customers, because you gamify, if you like, in terms of, well, let's make a game out of this. Let's make this fun. If you do this, we'll enter you into a prize draw. But also,
I'll give you today. I'm going to give you 3 stars for you, the coffee you bought.
It's been remarkable. I think sometimes there's been a mixture of some. Don't get me wrong, people send offers all the time, and we can kind of expect them. But I think if your offers are timely and you do it in such a way that it's personal to them, I think they'll convert higher. I think rather than just sending out any old offer without any thought, it's never going to convert.
Well, if you think about it, with your coffee shop, your local coffee shop, I might decide that I'm going to get a coffee before I get on my train instead of waiting to use my local coffee shop. But if I'm not sure, do you know what? I'll give it a shot because they might give me some additional stars this week. And I might get my extra coffee or my cake or whatever. I think, do you know what? I'll hang on and I'll go back and give them my money.
It comes down to that social recognition.
Yes,
it's the same reason why we probably play Candy Crush or things. Like Candy Crush is a great example. So I don't know if you play Candy Crush, Vivian, but obviously every day you probably get certain amount of lives, and then once your lives run out, you're actually locked out for 20 minutes. Now, if you can't wait 20 minutes, you could actually pay to go past. I think businesses can, although Candy Crush is a game, but businesses can learn a lot from that in terms of how do you turn what you offer into a game? How do you increase people to come back to you regularly so that they get rewarded from it? But also, it surprised people. I mean, if I'm sure in Candy Crush or somewhere elsewhere, I receive notifications of freebies just out of nowhere, and it's getting people back. It's getting people back to the door. It depends on your sector, but I mean, you've got to think out of the box sometimes. You've got to be willing to take the punt. It's almost like thinking if the weather's bad today, for example, let's say you're a hairdresser and you want to get people to your salon, but it's pissing it down with rain. What if you said to them, well, we'll give you 20% off your haircut if you come in, but we'll also pick you up and drop you off as well? Now, for me, that's remarkable. It's something different, but also it's taking away their objectives.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm just replying to John, who said, "I think you can make people go back to your business depending on the service and attention you give to them."
Exactly, John. I think it's listening. I think if you listen to them, find out what their pain points are, they'll come back.
Yeah, I think social listening as well is another really good example of just finding out what people want, what they need, what they're complaining about, and so on and so forth. And, you know, many companies actually just make a habit of social listening and spending the time joining conversations. John, you're a student. What are you studying?
Do you think people are really reluctant to sell to existing customers because they're scared to ask again? As well.
Yes, I think in a way they haven't. I don't mean this in a patronising way, but they haven't understood that relationship and how the relationship has shifted. And let's face it, people have so many options now. I've noticed that Sky Television now are going to target specific ads to specific viewers. And so you and I might be watching the same program, but we'll get different adverts.
You know what's really clever, because I know we're probably going to have a bit off topic here, but it's the second screen viewing. If you think when you're watching telly, there's a good chance you're on your phone on Facebook or something like that. But it's the same reason why when you browse the internet, let's say you go to someone's website and you're looking at buying software. As soon as you get on Facebook, there's ads all over the place. There's ads all over the internet. They basically follow you through remarketing or retargeting, if you like, until you do it.
Yeah, but people use ad blockers. I've been using an ad blocker for nearly 2 years now, and I don't get any of that, and I don't want it either.
But I mean, you could use remarketing to provide value as well. So one concept,
but it's got to be. I think it's got to be really subtle, and I think if you're dealing with small businesses like Appy Offer wants to do. And I think if you can start to create really, I use that word advisedly, but an intimate and very local relationship, then I think that, you know, the sky's the limit, really.
I think that's it. And I think, I know you don't like the term sales funnel, but I think that there's so many ways you can nurture people. So, for example, I put up a blog post on what does make an irresistible offer. I'm going to set up a remarketing campaign to say, we've noticed you've looked at this, because it's very personal to them. They've looked at it. We've written this post about this. Why do you check it out? So it's not selling, but it's giving the opportunity to see additional content which they'll get value from.
I think people like to be, if you like, plucked out of obscurity,
Yeah.
in a way. So, for example, I sent somebody a tweet I thought would be of interest to them, and it was, and they commented on it. Then a big magazine said, we'd like to use your tweet, not mine, but his, as our comment of the week.
Yeah.
And he rang me and said, oh my God, this is amazing. And actually, when you think about it, it's a nothing. But look at the impact it had. And that's, again, this idea of plucking somebody out from obscurity and shining the spotlight on them. Because at the end of it all, we're all egocentric. It's all about me, how you can make me feel, what kind of experience you can create for me. And if you don't do that, I won't be back.
I think that's it.
That's the bottom line.
How do you wow your customers? How do you over-deliver to them? It comes back to being remarkable, doesn't it? I'm not saying you to everyone, but if you know that it's someone's birthday or one of your customers' birthday, go out your way just to do something for them. I mean, it doesn't even recognizing someone, or even just picking up the phone to say, I just want to thank you for being a loyal customer. And especially in the digital space, you can automate a lot of this in a personalized way to an extent. Obviously, nothing beats real engagement. Nothing beats picking up the phone or physically face-to-face speaking to someone. But surprising people, then wowing them on the spot is a great way to keep them, but also sell to them again in the future. Because like you say, Vivian, they remember how you made them feel. It's like the example you gave to me when you had a bad day, you went into the coffee shop and they gave you free. Yeah.
They recognise the signs.
This is it, it's actually on the spot. And all of a sudden, you'll go back again.
Yeah, and I've talked about them. And in fact, interestingly, I didn't realise, but they've got my loyalty because psychologically they've hit that spot and it's in there now. And so if I have a choice between that coffee shop or another, I tend to think, I mean, today I made the decision, Eat was one side, Pret was the other. And I thought, I ought to try Eat for change. Walked in, I thought, no, do you know what? I went straight back to Pret.
Do you think with these bigger chains, because of the size of them, because of the amount of footfall they get, and given that obviously it's all about delivering good service, good products and stuff, but do you think because of the amount of volume they get, it's hard to offer a personalised service in the time frame they've got?
Well, I don't think so, because, if you school your baristas or whoever to say, look, you are the face of my brand, whatever I promise, you're going to be the one that's going to deliver it. And I can't run my business without you. And without a business, you won't have a job. Without good customer service, we don't have customers. So therefore, you have to kind of make sure that everyone buys into the philosophy, and customer service, I think, has to actually be embedded in the DNA of a company. It's not a bolt-on.
So do you think if you take a coffee shop on a busy high street, let's say I live in York and it's busy full of tourists all year round, it's crazy. I refuse to go into town actually now, funnily enough. I suppose if your footfall's that good, you probably don't need to worry about customer retention because you've got new people coming through the door every day.
You do. Because, I mean, think about it. You've just said, it's all so busy, I can't be bothered. Now, if somebody could offer you a sort of streamlined Hitesh style coffee shop, might get your business.
Yeah.
And in fact, if it becomes the hip and cool place to be, then it will take business from elsewhere. So you've always got to be aware of who's coming up either side. And therefore, if you really are fulfilling, I mean, if you become incredibly busy, how do you deal with that? Because if you are too busy, you may actually alienate people. And that's where you might even want to get hold of people's addresses and what have you, email addresses, and like Appy Offer does, actually offer people really good reasons to come in quiet times.
I think that's it then. It's how you leverage the busy footfall to get something else. And I think as a happy customer, you're more than likely to tell someone else. You're more than likely to recommend your business to someone else in the past, and it just comes up in conversation. It's you give people a reason to tell a story, and it's all about storytelling as well.
Absolutely, and it's about our story as well, and whether or not I can get you to buy into my story.
Exactly. Cool. I suppose the original slot beginning was 30 minutes. Is there anything you want to cover before we get closed for the day?
I don't know if any of our if Chuck or John has anything that they'd like us, if they've got any questions, or if anyone wants to jump in on the call for 5 minutes before we go. We made the decision to run these for half an hour because we didn't want to bore everybody to death. But we tend to do these. Are we doing these every other week, Hitesh?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. But we'd certainly love you to join us again. And if you do have any questions for us, we're really happy to come have a look. Right. Chuck says he's been using existing customers very well. Would you like to jump in on the open seat and just tell us, what your strategy is? Because we'd be really interested to find out. Oh, here he comes.
I think that's John joining.
Right. He's on audio only, though.
Yeah.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm really well. Well,
good.
Sorry if I make some mistakes. This is not my native language, but I hope that I can give you my ideas, okay?
Yeah, well, never apologize because it sounds fantastic to us.
Okay. Well,
right.
You are saying Vivian. Sorry. What's your name? Vivian? Vivian?
Vivian, yes, Vivian, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Vivian said something about giving you customers the philosophy of your company, right? I think that the first people you have to sell that idea, you have to give that philosophy, you have to give them that lifestyle in a way, is the people you are with, right? You have to sell them those ideas because they are the people who are making your project, your business running. So I think that that's the more important thing to do.
So the training, the way you set out the business, the kind of people you choose, that's all integral to developing your business in the right way, yes?
Yeah.
Can I just add something? I think it's down to your company values and what you stand for. At the end of the day, we all run businesses because we want to. For me, it's delivering positive change. It is making a difference in the technology space. And I think if you hire people who live with the same values as that will pass through to your customers as well. And people all of a sudden, they're not just buying a product and service from you, they're kind of buying an experience. What are your thoughts on that, John?
Tell me.
I'm sorry. I didn't realize you were asking me. I'm sorry. I was intently listening, but not well enough, I guess. I jumped in because we've had philosophy in our businesses for the last 5 decades. We have always allocated a larger portion of our advertising budget to our existing customers rather than seeking new. Most of our customers are the only people subject to any specials, discounts. All of our products are shipped with more in the box than what people purchase, which of course then expands our market tremendously because we don't have to hire salesmen or advertising agencies to spread the word. We allow our customers to be our salespersons. And it's worked well in many of our companies, from food service to manufacturing, and to, we actually, for years, grew food also. So that's just a philosophy we've had. I learned it in 1960. It's worked very well ever since. And I'm on a tirade now to give you an example of a very poor marketing situation. I don't know if any of you use any of the satellite television dish companies.
Yes.
Purchased DirecTV. Our bill crept up without any increase in service over the years. And I called and said, look, I've been a subscriber for 13 years. My wife gets a letter in the mail that she can be a subscriber for 1/6 my cost. And they said, well, I said, so therefore I'm subsidizing your new customers. And of course, it got me nowhere. So I changed servers, only with the premise that I had a 4-year rate guarantee, and I have not. I'm not saying the public does, but I have a 4-year written rate guarantee if they wanted my business, because it's more than just one location. And so, guess what came in the mail? An offer from DirecTV to us for $29 a month. You see. So again, there's an example of, I think, backwards marketing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not going to go broke because they lost my $100 a month, several hundreds actually, because of different locations. They're not going to go broke. We know that. But don't you have a bad taste in your mouth when you have that experience?
Well, just Chuck, you are talking to however many people are on this Blab. And
Right.
so therefore, that's 8 or 9 people that now know about your bad service. And
That's right.
we may use that as an example in another Blab, and so on and so forth.
That's the beautiful thing about the internet. I came on board about 10 years ago because I had to change my lifestyle a bit because of health reasons. And what I was amazed at is I started podcasting. I had a live talk show for 2 of them for over 10 years. And here I am, a nobody in the world. I was, well known by our customers, but all of a sudden I became global. And that's what Blab and the podcasting and, of course, all of these social platforms allows anybody to do. But again, the premise is how to sell to existing customers. Take care of them. That's the key. I mean, that's summed up beautifully. Edify your existing customer with more accolades, more perks, more benefits than the new acquirer. Why is it that every new acquirer gets the good deal?
It's because they're the shiny new toy or shiny new person.
I guess so. But you know what? You have you don't have the same retention.
No.
Well, but I think that also it depends on the how do I say that, the field that you are in. I mean, for example, when you are in with a lot of competitors or that kind of things, the market now we have, I think that they have to do another things with their marketing. For example, for people also in social media, they have to make a lot of effort to get new people. And I know that this is not the topic of this blog, but I think that it depends on the market you are. This is over. I don't know how to say that. With a lot of customers and a lot of providers, I think that that's like a different situation.
Yeah, I think you could be right there, John. But I mean, essentially, I think that wherever you are, whatever you field you're in, we should all aim, however that's done, to provide over and above, and as Chuck said, more than they expect in the box. I like that.
Can I just add to that as well? I think a lot of companies that are in the digital space, so they provide information and advice. So I've been in the digital space, so I provide done websites, bespoke applications, digital marketing as well. But I think, especially in my career, I'm sure there'll be plenty of the business in the future to come, is you want to try and become a thought leader. You want, the more you give, and sometimes giving doesn't necessarily need to be something tangible, doesn't necessarily need to be something physical, but it could be some advice. And you do that regularly and consistently, especially if you do it on once or twice a week, whether it's through, as I mentioned earlier, through email marketing or even just writing a blog. People will recognize that, and you're building your credibility up. But you've got to start. And I think I agree with Chuck. I think you got to, whatever it is you do, you got to think about how could I nurture my customer base to keep them, but also then cross-sell to them when the opportunity is right. And when I say cross-sell, I mean, it's not hammer them left, right, and centre, as me and Vivian were saying earlier. It's not about just because I've got you through the door, I want you to buy everything else right now. You've got to approach them when the time is right for them. It's not about you. And I think it's putting the customer first in everything you do. And I think sometimes, going back to John's point earlier about philosophy and values, you've got to take that doing everything you do. And it's, I look at my company values every day in terms of driving positive change. And I think if I'm not doing that every day, then it's pointless me being in business in that particular field, because it's not aligning with everything I'm doing. And I think also not just to deliver to that, but also how do you go above and beyond? How do you be remarkable? And I think I suppose the question to you, Chuck, is that I know you over-deliver regularly from what you're saying, but do you think that's become the norm? So therefore, how do you surprise people then if you're still delivering or always over-delivering?
Well, I hope no one gets the impression that we don't get new customers because our customers die, become disabled, move away, and no longer need our products or services. That's just the basics. So we do need to replenish the pot occasionally. But I don't think, I've never had anybody say, I'm tired of it. I've never had anybody say, I'm tired of you telling me thank you. I've never had anybody tell me they were tired of getting a perk. No. Now, the other thing is, I don't want to, this is, we're talking many, many hours of conversation that are deeply embedded into this concept. And it has to be planned and it has to be executed in a proper way. It has to be executed in a personal way also. And one of the things that we've really benefited from is the fact that the internet has taken away personality in many instances. So that if I just yesterday, a young lady's interested in about $140,000 project, and she sent an email, and I took the time to research her telephone number. She did not provide it, but I took the time to research it because, on the internet, you can find just about anything, right? Yeah. And I called her and blew her away. I'm not going to say that we haven't inked the contract yet, but I think it's forthcoming within about 4 or 5 days. And she said, that you're the first person who's ever spoke to me. And we talked about it at length. This woman was, in her 40s. She had a need that one of our companies could solve. And she said, I appreciate the fact that I was taken care of as a person. Mm-hmm. And we talked about philosophy instead of the product, because that's what I do is I spend way too much time on the phone, I guess. But she said, I wish more people would do this. She says, even my stores where she spends money, nobody wants to talk to her and nobody wants to listen. And I believe we can effectively use the internet to expand our ability to communicate. Just takes a little
I think that's what's interesting there is that social media, customer service on social media really has driven up people's expectations. And if I send a tweet complaining about something, I expect somebody to respond to that immediately. And in fact, when I go into shops and I say, well, what are you going to do about it? And they look at me and I can't believe that they haven't understood how social media, for example, is really driving customer service. And therefore, I think many bricks and mortar businesses are losing out by not using some of the tricks, and I mean that in the nicest way, that can be used from the internet. I mean, I buy a book and I get a nice bookmark in it. I buy a book, I get a little sticker in there to say this book belongs to. There's just little things. They're nothing really. These are actually within the invoice. You just literally unpeel it and put it in your book.
Talk about that to somebody else. That's the. I mean, you do share that. You might even write a tweet about it, or you might do a Facebook post about it.
Exactly. You might take a photograph of it, and then somebody says, "Oh, that's a nice idea," and check it out. So we just don't know where our good deeds are going to end up, basically.
Just to add to that as well, I think, Chuck, you made a point that your existing customers become your sellers in a sense that you do something remarkable, they'll spread the word. Or next time they're having a conversation with someone about something, you'll be top of mind because of how you made them feel. I think that's important. I think if you're investing in your existing customers, sometimes you could offer referral fees or there's a bit of an incentive there to you. Tell your mum or dad about this, we'll give you something extra. But also at the same time, if it can happen in such... I refer people to Vivian all the time. She hasn't asked me to do that, but because I know the quality of service I get, I do it. You recommend people. It's all about who's in your inner circle in terms of you help each other out once you establish those relationships. And it only comes at delivering a high-quality service consistently until your name gets about. If you focus on what you do, your existing customers stay with you through thick and thin, even if you increase your prices, because it's not about price. and they'll attract new people as you go along as well.
I want to share a story that I think sums up our philosophy. A very good friend of mine, used to be one of his largest retail customers or wholesale customers. And after I had suffered my coronary a while back, I started doing some other things. And so he asked me to help him market his product because his market was changing. So he was one of the first people that I suggested to put something other in the box. And I recommended a high quality shirt with his logo on the back, with his website. Very simple, non-gory, it was subtle. And the market that he is involved in is the equestrian market. And of course, we know the persona of the equestrian. And when they go to shows, and there's just a whole philosophy here. So he included a $20 shirt with every order, even if the order was only originally a $15, $16 order for a piece of merchandise. His wife told me point blank over dinner that I was crazy. And I said, I'll tell you what, I want you to do this for 6 months. If it doesn't work, I will underwrite the total cost of all the shirts you bought. And how could she lose on that? Well, 3 weeks later, she called me back and she said, I guess you'll never write me the check. And a perfect example is someone got their box, put on the shirt, went to a horse show, and the first thing that they were asked is, where did you get that shirt? And the person turned around and said, go here. And that's all it was. It was so subtle. And obviously, we've expanded on this in several other companies. And it's now, most people will not subscribe to this philosophy, and that's fine. I don't believe it's important that everybody do what we do successfully. So, and I really appreciate your time and energy. Is it Hitesh? Hitesh?
Yeah, that's right.
Hitesh? And where are you located, Hitesh?
In the UK, so north of
England. Oh, you're in the UK? Okay. And Vivian?
I'm in the south of England.
Are you really? Okay. I'm in Northern California. So isn't this beautiful? 3 people who have a common interest and who have basically the same value system can meet, whereas we never could have had this opportunity 20 years ago. So I encourage people to utilize this system beneficially. And it's not hard to do. So I must go because I have to follow up on another one of those terrible phone calls. So.
Okay, well, we wish you luck with that. And thank you so much for joining our Blab.
Thank you very much. I hope to see you both here again.
Yes, well, catch up with us on Twitter. So we're there. So we'll look up for you.
Right.
Okay, thank you, everybody. We've had a pretty amazing Blab this afternoon, and I hope you've picked up something of interest. What do you think, Hitesh?
It's been really useful. Thank you. I think it's always good to hear people's stories because it's the best way to learn. I think me and Vivian could talk on and on for all day long, but at some point we'll run away.
We have to go. So we hope to join you again in the week after next. And thank you so much. If you've got any questions or you want to say anything, do join us. You can see us at Appy Offer or at Suppose I Am. And we look forward to sharing tweets with you. So see you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.